Verily, verily, I say unto thee, thou shalt pay thyself first. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Common Sense Episode 2, titled Pay Yourself First. And this is week 1 of 7 weeks where we'll be examining the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. And we'll be going through the 7 cures that OG Arcad recommended to his friends. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy what we have in store for you tonight. And I want you to like the page, follow the page, share the page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Common Sense, and enjoy the content that we have here tonight. The Richest Man in Babylon was a book that was published since 1929. And you might be wondering, what does a book published in 1929 has to do with 2021? And you know what? The same sun that shone in 1929, the same sun that was there in 1970, 1990, is the same sun here in 2021. And there are certain principles and truths that are timeless. And some of the principles brought out in that book are timeless. For example, Cure 1, which we'll be dealing with this afternoon, titled Pay Yourself First, is a timeless principle because regardless of your circumstance, regardless of where you are, who you are, it is very important that you save and that you pay yourself first. And tonight with me is a wonderful guest, an entrepreneur, the owner of Stepping Stones Technology. He's also a father, a husband. You might hear him with some Nigerian accent because he's from Nigeria, but he's a Guyanese brother, Deji Aderemi. And I'm really grateful for him being here tonight. He's going to share with us a lot of wisdom, some of his experiences from Nigeria, and how he would have been able to successfully navigate life in Guyana. So without any further ado, we want to get into tonight's topic, pay yourself first. And my first question that I want to delve into tonight is, when were you first introduced to the concept of saving?
Thank you very much, Matthew, for having me on the program, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. The concept of saving actually was something that was introduced to me from my family back in Nigeria, because back then my mom would always encourage us to save. My dad will always say, save. I remember then all 3 children in the house, myself, my brother, and my sister, we all have the same Christmas allowance. They will budget maybe 5,000 naira for all 3 of us, but the difference during Christmas will be whatever we have saved in our piggy bank. We have a small piggy bank made of clay with hole in it where you drop all the 1 naira coin, 5 naira notes and all of that in it. And my mom used to say, when uncles visit, aunts visit, they will say, they will give you some money and say, hey, you take this for yourself. And my mom will say, go and save your money. So during Christmas, when we all have our 5,000 naira, so the difference now will be in what you have saved from January till that time. So that will afford you the opportunity to be able to buy the toys that you like and whatever else that you want to like. So the importance of saving was inculcated from that point. Beautiful. As young as we were then.
Beautiful. You were introduced to that concept of saving from a child, and I think that is very important. Now, as we translate now into your personal financial journey, could you shed some light on where you started and how you were able to be where you are today?
Oh, okay, thank you. After coming out of the university in Nigeria and I started working, my dad called me one day and he said to me, he said, you must not eat with all your 10 fingers. That's what he said to me. He said, you must not. I said, Daddy, what does that mean? He said, don't eat with all your 10 fingers, meaning that you must not finish spending all that you earn. You must have something left. So with that in mind, as I earned, I was always saving. I was saving. I would keep money aside. I would put money aside. My dad would see you say, are you saving? And I would say, yes, Dad, I'm saving. Are you saving your money? I'll say, yes, I'm saving. So like that now, that came into me. I imbibed that as I progressed in life, as I moved on in life. And there was one more thing that he used to say to me. Then he would say, you know, the only man who can buy cheap stuff is a man who has money.
Ah, beautiful.
He will say, if you don't have money, if they want to sell a car for 5,000 naira, a car that is worth maybe 1 million naira, he will say, if you don't have money, you can't even start a conversation. So you must save money, you must have money in case anything happens, so that you can be right there to make a bargain.
Beautiful. You just brought out a very important point, because, you know, if you want to purchase a Lucozade, you need to have money. If you want to purchase a cologne from Reminiscent GY for your significant other or your wife, you need to have some amount of savings to purchase that. So it is very important that we pay ourselves first. And what do we mean by that? It means that before you pay your bills, before you pay your expenses, before you pay whoever you have to pay, ensure that you pay yourself first, because you are very valuable, you are very important, and you need to build on your personal wealth. Now, in Guyana, just like in Nigeria, many persons, if there was one financial concept we learned from a young age, was to save. Many times we hear save, 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 save. But like many other concepts and principles, it's hard to do it if we don't know the reasoning or the purpose or the intention behind it. So what would you say is the purpose behind saving? Yeah, it's good to save, but why are we saving?
Yes. You see, initially, you as we were being brought up, you would just be saving. You're saving for the purpose of saving. They say save because of the rainy day. You're just saving. But as one begins to grow in life, you realize that there is the need for you to save with an intention.
Ah, beautiful.
With an intention. You have a purpose, you have a goal, and you're saving towards that goal. It makes it a lot easier for you when you have a reason why you're saving. Because when you're just stacking up money, and you don't know why you're putting the money together, sometimes you can get carried away and the money goes just like that. But when you save with intention, when you save with goals in mind, with a purpose, it makes it a lot easier, and it is easier to achieve whatever purpose that you were saving for.
Beautiful. And in your personal experience now,
Yes.
what is one, let's say, major goal that you would have been able to achieve through your savings?
Matthew, I must tell you that one of the major achievements that I was able to make as a result of deliberate savings is purchasing a house lot.
Beautiful.
When I came into this country, I understand the procedures. I understand the procedures, how to acquire properties and all of that. And I realized that without saving, I may not be able to achieve that. So I put in my application and then began to save. And it took me about 3 years of consistent savings. And then one day the call came, and it was easy for me to put in my payment.
Beautiful, beautiful. And cameraman, I want to ask you a favor. If you can just give us a shot of some of the flowers and so forth, because I want to bring up a point here now that it's saving is like that seed that will allow you to develop your tree of wealth. So just like a fruit, it starts with a seed, it eventually grows and it grows and it grows. As you save, as you plant that seed of saving, and you water that seed with consistent savings, you water that seed, your tree of wealth eventually grows and it blossoms, and you can now be financially free to purchase maybe land or make an investment or whatever goals that you're using your finances for. You can be able to achieve them because you've got to constantly water that seed. Right? So, as we continue in our conversation now, I want to ask you about your financial situation as you boarded that plane to come to Guyana. What was your financial situation like then?
When I left Nigeria, I left with $200. $200 in my pocket, 200 US dollars. And when I arrived Guyana, I had to pay $25 for my visa fee, so which left me with 175 US, right? So that's what I came into Guyana with. And with a lot of discipline and determination, consistency, that amount of money that came with me into this country, I have been able to achieve a couple of things with it. Savings being one of the most important.
And this is how many years?
This is about 10 years.
10 years now.
10 years ago now.
So basically, 2011, you had 175 US.
Yeah,
and
yes.
2021, you're now able to have your own home and your own family and so forth.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful example, a real life example of the impact and the importance of saving. And you brought up an important point about discipline just now. And you would hear many young people lamenting the fact that, you know what, it's tough to save. And in reality it is. And it requires a lot of discipline. So could you touch on how important discipline is for persons to, be consistent when it comes to saving?
You see, there is nothing that you can achieve without discipline. Discipline is the basis of most everything.
Beautiful.
Discipline. If you want to achieve anything, you got to be disciplined and be determined to get it. You are disciplined. Whatever you earn, you make up your mind that I'm going to be setting aside X amount of money towards this purpose. And no matter what happens, that amount that you have determined that you will be setting aside will not change. You just keep at it, you keep going at it. You don't get carried away by all kinds of things that goes on around you, partying and unnecessary expenses and all of that. You remain disciplined. Even if all your peers, all your friends, everybody is by and looking as if they are the rave of the moment. Once you remain disciplined and focused on your goal, you are going to get there. So it is very, very important. You cannot overestimate the importance of discipline when it comes to saving. Beautiful.
And as we continue our conversation, I want to tackle persons who would lament the fact that, they may be earning minimum wage and they have so many bills and so many expenses that it may be difficult for them to save. Because in the book, when O.G. Arcad, who was the richest man in Babylon, when he was speaking to his other youngsters and his other friends, he asked each and every one of them, what do you do for a living? Some were butchers, some were carpenters, some were gardeners. Everybody was working. And of course, different persons earn different incomes. But he said that regardless of their income, you must pay yourself first. What would you say to persons who are earning minimum wage? They have a lot of bills and a lot of expenses. How do they go about saving?
Yes, first of all, as we have mentioned earlier, you must be determined, you must be disciplined. If you're earning minimum wage, you can still save. You can still save. You can still put together some amount of money every month, which is the basis, the beginning of your journey to building wealth. So let's say you earn 70,000 a month. You could put aside 10,000 and begin to do that consistently on monthly basis. And in 1 year, you will be amazed how much money you will have put aside. So it is very important, and you can do it. And if you're saying, oh, all my bills and everything takes away all my money, all you need to do is sit down. Where does my money go every month?
Beautiful.
And you begin to look at each item and you begin to see, okay, I can do with half of this. If I'm spending 5,000 on data every month, you could cut that down and be able to save that amount of money. Again, the other thing again that you can do is that you could be creative, you know. As a minimum age earner, you could be creative with your time. Okay, if your minimum age earns you 70,000 or 75,000, you could decide to take an extra walk. We say sidewalk in Guyana. Here we say sidewalk. You know, you get a sidewalk that brings in, maybe gives you another extra 20,000, and you determine that 20,000 from that sidewalk, you will put it into savings. So it is possible for people who are on minimum wage to save.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's a saying in Nigeria that money is a spirit. Tell us about that saving and what does it really mean?
Yes. In Nigeria, you will hear it. Money is a spirit. Money is a spirit which visits every man at every stage in life. So, and they will say, once money comes to you, you have to treat it well. If you don't treat money well, it's gonna go away. It's not gonna come back. But when you treat money well, you will see that it keeps coming, it keeps growing. Money finds itself to be comfortable around you when you treat it well. Beautiful. But when you are very frivolous with money, you are carefree, you don't care, you don't settle yourself down to know that you got to manage money properly, it will go. So you will always hear it in Nigeria when they're speaking to young people. They will say, money is a spirit. You got to treat it well. So when it comes to your hand, treat it well. Be wise with it. Use your common sense with it, so that it will always be comfortable to come to you.
Beautiful. Importance of using your common sense, right? And a wise man once said, money follows management. And you beautifully illustrated that just now when you stated that, you know what, we should treat money well, because I liken it to, let's say, your significant other or your girlfriend you may be dating. If you don't treat her well, she's going to go away. She's not going to stay because you're not treating her well. And it's similar with your finances. If you're not going to cultivate it, if you're not going to water it, if you're not going to replenish it, if you're not going to use it wisely, it's not going to come to you. It's going to go to other persons who are managing it well. Now, persons may want to know, in terms of the mathematical aspect now of saving, is there like a specific amount that you must save, or should I set aside 20%, 30%, 40%? I know for me personally, I use the 10-10-10-70 rule, which is basically 10% for God, 10% for yourself, 10% for investment, and the other 70% so bills and personal, whatever personal. What would you advise persons as it relates to a specific amount, or is it situational?
There is no specific formula that cuts across for everybody. No formula per se. The principle remains the same. You have to pay yourself first. But the formula that you will now adopt is relative, because everybody is different. Like,
correct.
You earn money from different sources, different amounts. So everybody have to sit down. Individually, you have to sit down and look at what you earn and what you want to pay yourself. So when you determine that, you stick by it and you consistently follow that. That's what works for you. So there is no an across-board formula for it.
Beautiful.
But the principle remains the same.
Beautiful. And as we continue our conversation, I want to quickly touch on the topic of mental health, because many times you would hear financial analysts and advisors telling persons about saving. But many times they can cut across that fine line between saving and hoarding, and whereby persons are just not spending at all and nothing. Like, there's no time to have some fun, there's no time to take your wife out on a dinner or buy something new for the house. It's just, you're just constantly not spending. How do you ensure that persons can have that balance between saving and also enjoying their lives and not becoming hoarders.
Okay. That's very, very important, because I know there was a man in Nigeria who died. He had about 5 children, and this was a very frugal person. He doesn't spend. You have to come with the most justification before he can bring out 10 naira from his pocket. And the man died after, and the children were bitter. They were not happy. The wife was not happy because their father didn't extend his means to them. He didn't give them that comfort, that aspect of life. They didn't know anything about it. So while they were sorting out all the documents in his house, they found that he had a lot of shares in corporate organizations, in Cadbury, in Nestle, in Nigerian breweries. A lot of shares, worth lots of money. And you look at it that way, that the man was just saving and investing his money, and he forgot that other part of his life where he had to attend to his family, take them out, treat them well, let them have fun, let them enjoy themselves, while at the same time he understands that he needed to save. So there are so many people in Guyana here today as well. I know people, friends, people who prefer to save money than to give it to their wives, or to take their children out, or to buy some things for their children. They will prefer to save the money. You cannot live this aspect of life in order for you to say you're saving, because the damage that you do when you deny your family, your loved ones, from that comfort, that aspect of life, the damage you do, the amount of money that you have saved cannot repair it. So that thin line, you got to make sure that you are able to balance life when it comes to saving and making sure you take care of your family.
Beautiful. And I really love the way that you brought out that point, because it's very important that regardless of what we do in life, you maintain a balance. Balance is always important. You don't do too much or you don't do too little, but you have to try to reach that midway point, because everything must be done in balance. Now, as we wind down our conversation now, we've touched on the individual level, we've touched on the family level, and I want to quickly touch on businesses now. Many times when you read financial reports, you would see a section of the income statement, I believe, or the balance sheet that says retained earnings. And that's basically savings for businesses. Yes. But you would talk to small business owners and they would tell you that everything that they earn is plugged back in to cater for some expenses, whether it be salaries or the day-to-day operational aspects of the business. How important it is for businesses themselves to pay themselves first, because the same concept, I believe, applies to businesses.
Oh yes, it's a universal principle. This pay yourself first is a universal principle that applies to individuals, corporate organizations. So in my own case, when I started business, whenever we make profit, we set aside a certain percentage that goes back into the business. It is there, is in the business there, and we monitor it. When you keep doing that over time, it grows and it adds value to your financial standing at the end of the year, or whenever you want to apply for facilities with the financial institutions around. It adds. So just as you pay yourself first from your salary, also businesses, small businesses like mine, also ought to pay itself.
Correct.
Businesses have to pay itself first before anything else. So that principle still applies even when it comes to businesses.
Beautiful. And I think we've captured a lot here this afternoon, and I want to give you the opportunity now to offer any parting words of advice to young people that are watching, to parents that are watching, and to business owners that are watching, as it relates to the importance and this concept that we've touched on tonight about paying yourself first.
Well, thank you. It is important that individuals, young people especially in Guyana, it is important that we pay ourselves first. No matter what you earn, pay yourself first, because if you don't do that, every other thing else will take away all the money and you'll find out that there is nothing left for you. So when you get your salary, whatever that is, make sure you pay yourself first. And that payment is in form of a saving. To families, it is important that families also come together to ensure that they pay themselves first. Fathers and mothers pull resources together and save towards the family's future. I give you an example. During this pandemic, I decided that, hey, you know what? It's better we save money instead of us going to buy vegetables every now and then at the market. I decided to set up a garden behind my house. I set up a garden there where I plant callaloo, pap choy, celery. I mean, they are right there. And for the past 7 months, my wife and I have not gone to the market to buy vegetables at all. And you can imagine how much money that is. Really? 7 months. So that's a lot of savings. So families too could be creative. They could think about ways to cut down expenses and put that money aside. Young people, if you are not paying rent, you're not paying any bills, you have no excuse not to pay yourself first from whatever you earn.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Mr. Aderemi, for really helping us understand the concept of paying ourselves first. But before we go, just in case you're now tuning in, I want to remind you that this podcast, Common Sense, is coming from Guyana. Because I was checking my analytics and Common Sense has gone regional and global. And I want to ensure that persons that are tuning, regardless of where you are, that you recognize that this is from Guyana. And we have good stuff over here in Guyana as well too. I want to especially shout out some of my friends and family from Barbados. And I'll be on the radio next week in Barbados actually to speak more about finance and talk about my podcast. So ensure that you're tuning and enjoy what I'm doing and what I hope to achieve through this podcast. I want to also encourage you guys to tune back in next week Thursday, October 28th. We're going to be having a live session next week Thursday whereby persons can call in and ask questions. I've been receiving a lot of questions from the first 2 episodes, and I want to give my guests and persons the opportunity to respond to some of those questions. So ensure that you're there live next week. Join us at 7 o'clock on Core VPI's Facebook page or on Common Sense YouTube page, and ensure that you're there to gain some more common sense. This is your boy Matthew saying, have a wonderful day and be safe.